Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server and we are having a look at a new F-16 that is coming into the game for Israel. There's another F-16 that's turning up for France, which is a little bit of a modification on the OCU. This one for Israel is a modification on the standard platform that they use for their F-16. This is the Sufa, a very much upgraded vehicle for the Israelis. Now, when it comes to where it is in the tech tree, you can find it after the F-16D Barak 2 and before the Ram. So that's kind of where it fits in this tech tree. It would have been nice if they stuck it over here, but they've decided to stick it on the right-hand side. One of the big upgrades of this vehicle, you can already see on it, is the additional fuel with these really kind of grotesque fuel tanks that are sat on the side of it. Now, luckily, you can take these off if you want to, so it doesn't look like a squirrel eating nuts, and you can make it look nicer if you really want to. You can see here, now it just looks like a standard kind of F-16 with the big old kind of rectangle back on it. But basically, that's one of the upgrades that the Israelis did. This is one of the more modern versions of it that the Israelis use. So when we have a look at the X-ray, this vehicle has the AN/APG 68 V9 radar, which has access to a bunch of different factors on it. You also have a pilot with all the bells and whistles you would ever want, including a very powerful RWR, the AN/ALR 56M. Then, on top of this, you also have a HMS, you have a MORE system, and then also you have SPI and LDR2. You also have a gunner, since this is a two-piloted machine, just like a lot of the Israelis that they have. So the other major factors when it comes to its X-ray, you have the F100PW229 engine, and then everything else is fuel. You also have the gun, which is stuck in here, the 20mm Vulcan, and you have the traction and control surfaces that are also modeled in slightly differently. So yeah, if you take away the fuel, basically it's very similar to what we've seen before. Now, in terms of modifications, this is very much Israeli. This is where they've tried to make it as Israeli as possible with a lot of the ground ordnance options, which is why this vehicle is 14.0 in air, but 12.7 in ground. You can see with the additions of the secondary armaments, it gets all the spice bombs, which are the specific Israeli kind of guided munitions, including the GNSS versions and also the IR versions of their glide bombs. You also have access to paveways, the big old GBU-15s, and some dumb bombs, the bigger spice bombs. Look how big these things are. These are IR and also GNSS guided bombs, paveways, and everything else. So one of the things that this vehicle doesn't get access to is Mavericks. Instead, it is more about the guided bomb and glide bomb setup. When it comes to its actual kind of, I suppose, anti-air weaponry, you have the standard AIM-9Ls, also the standard AIM-9Ms, and then you have access to the AIM-120C5s. Plus, you have the funny fuel tanks. But yeah, so this is your kind of stock loadout here. 2 AIM-120s and then 2 AIM-9Ms. I think a lot of people will be happy with that. I think the major issue, though, that people won't be happy about is the fact that you can only bring along the 6 missiles. I know that sounds really weird, but at the highest echelon, people are able to usually bring a few more, especially on specific vehicles. So that will be a limiting factor, and probably why it's 14.0 instead of 14.3. So the vehicle has a lot of different ordnance options. It also is able to carry a ton of fuel if you really want to, and that makes it slightly different compared to others. Here's the modifications. Not really too different compared to what you see from other aircraft at this BR. A lot of secondary armaments, not too much flight performance, and a bit of survivability. Now let's talk about this survivability, because I can't believe that these guys haven't really upgraded it too much. You have 15 large caliber countermeasures, and then you also have 90 countermeasures on the vehicle. Kind of surprising if that would be the case, because when you have a look at some of the other ones, this one obviously has 360, the Ram, And then also the F-16D Block 40 has 180 on it. So only having a small amount compared to pretty much all of the other vehicles that are here would be very, very surprising. So only having 100 when everything else has basically either 200 or more. So I'm guessing that's going to change. In terms of actual fuel, this thing can bring 28 minutes of fuel on its like standard one, but when you have all of these additional fuel tanks, there's not really much point in bringing any extra fuel in the setup. And at the same time, bringing along all of the weapons will make you a bit heavier, and so will all the fuel, but you'll be able to last a bit longer in the battles, which is a bit more fun. So you can see you can bring about 50 minutes worth of fuel as additional fuel. And what you can do is take it off, and that gives you 15 minutes of fuel in these kind of conformal fuel tanks. So that's pretty much where this thing differs in terms of what it's able to do. It has Search PD, TWS, and then Standard Search, PDHCN as well, and all of the other factors that you would want from a modern vehicle. There's really not too much else to say in terms of it. It's an F-16, it maneuvers very well, it has its cockpit modeled because it just uses the one from the other one, which is quite nice, but generally, you're not going to find too much different compared to other vehicles. So, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.